We are on the right side of history consistently throughout all this and holding these terrible regimes, whether it's the Nazis or whether it's Russia, holding these people accountable. Now, that's where we are. Now, you
right, but
just
we
showed the
didn't
video
say,
where
we didn't say, Senator, we'll leave the Nazis in place. We'll leave al-Qaeda in place. We're not great at regime change, don't get me wrong. It's really only worked in one place.
Chris Cuomo and John Fetterman just clashed over Trump's Iran war, and the debate got intense. Let's break down the biggest moments and why this issue is far more complicated than many are admitting. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Let's get into it.
Democratic senator who intends to vote with Republicans against the War Powers Resolution, and he says he will do that every time. Senator John Fetterman, and he joins us now. Senator, good to have you as always. Thank you for taking the opportunity.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, for sure.
Senator, I do not see this as an urgent vote because I don't think it can become law and get put on the president's desk. So do you believe that there is any will in the Senate to do it the right way and hold a debate and a vote on whether or not Congress needs to step in and make a judgment on the ongoing war?
All I can do is I can speak about my own vote. My vote, no, is not a pro-war vote, but it's absolutely a pro-no nuclear Iran. And now here we are at the cusp of, and we've held Iran accountable for the first time ever. They were really, really held accountable in a very meaningful way. And now here we are. And now I think the decision is produce the nuclear dust, or this is going to continue. And then we're going to hold them accountable. That's really important. And that's not a radical thought or a view for Democrats. Now, Harris, she identified Iran as her top international concern. Hillary Clinton said the same thing. Neither of them ever refused to take military options, just like you're watching right now on your screen, off the table. So this isn't like a new thing for Democrats, but everything's changed because now not a single Democrat will agree with Trump with virtually anything because that's very toxic as a Democrat. But things are much bigger than my seat or how I may have angered people in my party. But I refuse to vote for something that would force us away that allows Iran to keep their nuclear materials and go back to building a bomb, which they were trying to do. I absolutely,
Senator,
it's June. And now I was the only Democrat that supported it. It was fantastic what they did with Midnight Hammer to bomb and to really damage those facilities. Hold them accountable. And where is the rest of the world countries? Where's our allies saying, yeah, we collectively demand Iran produce their nuclear dust? That's about peace. That's about a more stable and more prosperous Middle East. Iran can't ever acquire a nuclear bomb. Find a single Democrat that says it's okay. Well, but voting for that's effectively the same thing. But do not say we can't ever let Iran build a nuclear bomb, but refuse to take the heat and to vote for something, even though it might be unpopular as a Democrat.
I think that is part of the play. You are correct. However, in irony of ironies, I will now defend your party, which I am anti-party, and you are a member of a party that you are not defending, but now I must. And I'll do it this way. Here's the problem. You say hold accountable. The moment President Trump said, I will not remove the regime, this was over. You were always going to have to make a deal. They don't care about their people. Unless you are willing to go in and take them out, they will always try to get a weapon. They will always cheat. They will always lie, and they will always want to kill you. So your position should be, I am for going at Iran. They cannot have a nuke, and we must remove the regime. But that is not the position. And this can only end one way, which is with a deal that's not going to be great.
Yeah, Iran is a very difficult situation, without a doubt. But I would like to remind you and everyone watching this, Iran is the bad guy in this. That is not America. And that's
the
not
regime.
Trump, specific thing.
The regime, not the country, not the people. The regime.
I mean,
they are outsiders.
It's not the semantics, but now for me, like on the New York Times and other media now, people have forgot this idea that America, we are the good guys. We are on the good side. We are on the right side of history consistently throughout all this and holding these terrible regimes, whether it's the Nazis or whether it's Russia, holding these people accountable. Now, that's where we are. Now,
right, but we didn't say We didn't say, Senator, we'll leave the Nazis in place. We'll leave al-Qaeda in place. We're not great at regime change. Don't get me wrong. It's really only worked in one place, Japan. But why did it work in Japan? Because you actually did the job and owned it.
Governments.
Look, I wasn't asking for that here to the extent that whatever I want matters. But as soon as the president said the regime stays in place, why you say this warrants the bravery of your vote was taken away, Senator. You weren't going to keep them from getting a nuke because they're going to break the deal.
America demands a perfect war. And now war is ugly and it's terrible and it's very, very costly. Look at that iconic picture of the Korean Peninsula. Look at night. What does that look? You see a dark, dark north.
Yeah.
And you have absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree on the south. You know, people don't really think about the sacrifice, what America did. They held that scourge accountable. And now that gave birth to an incredible country like South Korea. Now that's a light in that region now, too. Now, that's the truth.
Right.
You know, that's why America.
That is the truth about South Korea. But the reason that Donald Trump stopped flirting with Kim Jong-un is because he realized this guy's a zealot. I can't take him out, or I don't want to. It's not worth it.
Yeah, well,
so let me leave him alone.
Tried to stop that. You know, and every American president rightly tried to stop the North Koreans. Yeah,
and they all failed because you got to be willing to go all in. And look, again, this is what they call a Hobson's choice in philosophy, which is where there's really no good decision to be made. So you wind up with one just obvious one, which is what? You got to just keep going because now you're already in a bad position. But that's my point. You say they can't have a nuke. I agree. Everybody agrees. If they're, thinking with their head, then they know this. It's how. And I just don't see it how it happens with the regime in place. That's why I've always found your vote a little curious.
Well, effectively, I think that, at least in the Senate, we forfeited, our right to have that conversation. You and I, we've been having a conversation for a long time. We've shut our government down for collectively over 100 days. You just used performative, 100% performative. The first one was about healthcare, never produced any healthcare, never
haven't even passed the subsidies.
Yeah, well, and nothing happened. No one's talking about healthcare, anymore. And then the second one is like, we demand ICE reforms, just as I did, but we've shut the DHS down.
It's not happening.
And more chaos, and there's no reforms, part of this now too. So like this idea, things become so hyper partisan, and now we are. So this is not a pro-war vote. This is a pro-hold Iran accountable and do not allow them to build a bomb. Because if we walk away now, when are they ever going to hold them accountable at this point? That's, I think, the appropriate thing. Deeply, deeply unpopular, absolutely poisonous as me as a Democrat, to hold these views and to vote this way. But things are more important than, my seat. Things are much bigger than that. And we're at a profound time, and I don't know why I wish the president wasn't arguing with these that slush funds and this other kinds of silliness but for me, I will follow this moral clarity, and I'm proud to stand with Israel through everything after 10/7. So here we are and have this conversation. Why was Israel constantly attacking Hezbollah? Because they refused to disarm and to stop firing rockets, holding Hezbollah accountable. I absolutely support that. I think it's fantastic the way Israel continues to kill, the new Hamas leaders. Yeah, they kill them before their new business cards even come in, and keep doing it, keep killing them. I'm a pro-kill Hamas leadership Democrat because, they have to get the message. They have to get the point that you are on the wrong side of history. Live in peace, or you and your country are going to continue to pay for that.
Listen, I get it, but just like with the regime, just like with Palestinians, regime versus Iranians, Hamas versus Palestinians or Gazans, Hezbollah versus the Lebanese, yes, you want to kill the bad guys, but Israel is killing a lot more than just the bad guys because that's the nature of war. And during a ceasefire, either you honor the ceasefire or you don't. The problem is we're making deals with terrorists. We never did this before, Senator. And this is why
I agree. Israel isn't allowed to fully perform war the way it always was. Two sides getting in a war, one side submits and they surrender and they disarm. That's the history. But these are societies where martyrdom and that's part of the goal. And that's exactly, Hamas doesn't know how many Palestinians die through that. Iran executed in the streets 30,000, 40,000 Iranians. They're actively hanging teenagers right now just for protesting for democracy. You have, different kinds of enemies, whether it was the Confederacy and the Civil War, the Nazis or the Japanese or any of these places there. That's the way war is conducted until one side submits and the civilians suffer deeply until one realizes that we have to find a new way forward. And here this is. There would be peace if they stop attacking Israel. There would be peace if Iran, submitted their nuclear dust.
Would there really be peace? I think that Netanyahu wants this war to go on for as long as it can possibly go on for.
So, and now those cowards, all they can do is they're attacking the Kuwaiti airport. All these cowards can do is attack civilians, whether it's Hezbollah, whether
they're terrorists.
They're terrorists. I know they're cowards. They're cowards. That's it. Ours. And now there are parts of people in my party that will defend those people. They are the ones that claim that they, if a majority of Democrats identify with Hamas and Palestinians over Israel, is a wholesale betrayal for our core values. And that's another thing that continues to be difficult.
Well, look, being pro-terror is never an American position that's going to win favor with the American people. Seeing the futility of doing it this way is a very different argument. But I understand and I respect your position and I appreciate you articulating it here. I long for the day that me and your giant-sized self are discussing what matters here at home to the many and the real fights that we thought we were all signing up for on health care, on credit card debt, on how our tax structure works, all the things that you cared about and campaigned about, but now we're distracted from.
And I agree with Chris Cuomo here. We should be able to focus on issues at home, but that doesn't seem to be something that presidents really care about today. It's all foreign policy. And of course, that's much of what the donors who are giving money to all of these politicians want. They don't want any solutions to health care here at home. They don't want any changes to the tax system. It's benefiting the rich very well. So what do? They have ridiculous wars that the vast majority of the population of the United States opposes. So like I say, Fetterman can say whatever he wants. His political career will be over sooner than later. You would have to think that he'll get voted out of office. He's not going to have a party anymore. The Democrats want him out. The Republicans aren't going to accept him and embrace him. Other than the Fox News crowd, he should be able to go on Fox News for a while, and he'll just bash the Democrats and say they're too liberal, they're not pro-Israel, blah, blah, blah. But John Fetterman is on the wrong side of history. You have almost the entirety of the Republican, or of the Democrat voters against this war. Of course, the Democratic establishment is in favor of it, and they're not going to read the room because they're beholden to Israel. You have younger Republican voters who are against this war, as well as agreeing with Democrats that we should cut off funding to Israel. But the Republican establishment does not agree with that. So John Fetterman is just in lockstep with